coming in. Reactions, considering this, of course, happened late in the night, reactions have now started pouring in. The first one coming in from BJP MP Subramanian Swamy. Dr. Swamy has lauded the airstrike and says that India it needs an India-US-Israel compact against terror. Quite interesting, the axis that Subramanian Swamy suggests is that of India, US and Israel versus Pakistan. In fact, Ashish, if I can come back to you, it's an interesting axis that Dr. Swamy has suggested. Is that likely to be the government stand as well?
Well, we can't really say what Subramanian Swamy says must be followed by the government. He's someone who's considered as an independent voice within the government, despite holding a strong position of Rajya Sabha MP and proximity to Prime Minister Modi and Amit Shah as well. His voice, we can't in 100% manner accept that this is going to be the government stand. We have seen in recent past how Subramanian Swamy's opinion has been his individual opinion. Would the government to exactly follow the line? That is something we'll have to wait, but I have my doubt that government would follow this exact line. Apart from that, Subramanian Swamy has been a scholar of the international politics as well, and he's someone who has made things very clear when it comes to Pakistan at the international level as well. So once again, this is a platform and opportunity to kind of send message to Pakistan that what would India can do when it comes to international military powers. What are the countries, also this is one aspect, Meghna, what are the countries in which side, since World War II, there have been very limited partisan and the polarization between countries. We have seen how Pakistan swinging until the last decade towards US and then now getting more closer to China. And all these equations have changed. The way the tension between US and Russia have gone down a bit. So the equations are changing. These kind of platforms certainly make the world politics little more clear. And that's what being done by at the domestic level here in India as well as the international level as well.
We'll just come back and discuss more on the string of pearls which China is hoping to create, and of course the counter which India is also preparing in just a bit. But considering we are talking specifically about the mother of all bombs, let's get you some of the reactions which have been coming in.
We are so proud of our military, and it was another successful event. We have the greatest military in the world, and they've done a job as usual. So we have given them total authorization, and that's what they're doing. And frankly, that's why they've been so successful lately. If you look at what's happened over the last 8 weeks and compare that really to what's happened over the last 8 years, you'll see there's a tremendous difference, So we have incredible leaders in the military, and we have incredible military, and we are very proud of them, and this was another very, very successful mission.
Around 7 p.m. local time in Afghanistan last night, the United States military used a GBU-43 weapon in Afghanistan. The GBU-43 is a large, powerful, and accurately delivered weapon. We targeted a system of tunnels and caves that ISIS fighters used to move around freely, making it easier for them to target U.S. military advisors and Afghan forces in the area. The United States takes the fight against ISIS very seriously, and in order to defeat the group, we must deny them operational space, which we did. The United States took all precautions necessary to prevent civilian casualties and collateral damage as a result of the operation.
Well, I think there's a couple of different reasons for the decision to turn to what is known colloquially as the mother of all bombs and drop it on that target in eastern Afghanistan. First of all, there was the military strategic reason that you heard Sean Spicer there, the White House press secretary, offering up. Their aim was to try and minimize the threat posed by Islamic State extremists to coalition forces in eastern Afghanistan and to maximize the amount of damage that they did to those Islamic State extremist fighters. So this was, they argue, militarily the sensible thing to do. But it's also absolutely apparent that this would have been authorized by President Donald Trump in his capacity as Commander-in-Chief of U.S. forces, and coming so quickly as it does after President Trump authorized those military strikes on Syria just a week ago, this is evidence that President Trump is making good on his campaign promise to remove restraints that he argues his predecessor in the White House, Barack Obama, placed on the U.S. military in the battle against Islamic State. This is Donald Trump prioritizing that battle and sending a very clear message, not just to the fighters on the ground there in eastern Afghanistan, but to America's coalition partners and to those nations around the world that challenge the United States, that there is a new sheriff in town here in Washington, D.C., and he will not hesitate to let the U.S. military turn to whatever weapons they have in their arsenal in order to try and achieve his stated goal, namely of defeating Islamic extremism wherever and whenever they have an opportunity so to do. So this is very much a political message that is being sent by President Donald Trump as well as a military one.
Well, in fact, let me go back across to Ashish. Now, Ashish, even as we speak to you, what we are putting out for our viewers are the several terror launch pads which Pakistan has set up along the POK, all of them geared towards spreading terror unrest in the Kashmir Valley on India's side. And it is quite unfortunate, however, US in the past has really not been able to stop that. Do you think India has now renewed interest and renewed confidence in the new establishment, considering Trump has sent out a very distinct and direct message against Islamic terror?
Well, certainly, see, Meghna, what would be the most interesting aspect to be derived out of the desired issue of India-Pakistan? That would be China's reaction. We all know that how dependent Pakistan is on China, be it economic issues, be it the military issues. Now, how would China react to USS using GBU-43, one of the biggest bombs that the world has ever seen, 21,000 pounds? It certainly would help us understand how does China looks at this kind of military usage against ISIS. If US is using this kind of a huge bomb, it goes down well with China, or if he reacts adversely, that would help us understand what would China do when it will be, say, a scenario where India would be doing something similar, if not of this extent, but something similar against Pakistan to destroy the launch pads in the POK, the terror launch pads in POK, to ensure that the terror continue to spread against India by Pakistan. In that case, we know that since US has done it, there are more chances that US would lean towards India's action. That was something which we witnessed during the surgical strike as well.
Right.
I would like to remind our viewers that it was the US's officials who had called first the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, even before the surgical strike was announced here to the media. So that would help us understand whether China would lean towards Pakistan in the scenario where India would do something similar to destroy the terror launch pads in Pakistan or not. So let's wait and watch whether how China reacts to this step by United States.
Well, we are going to keenly watch out how the global leaders are going to respond to it. Of course, we've got Russia's reaction to it. We are still awaiting China's reaction. However, interestingly also, let's also look at the flip side of it, Ashish. Now, there is already Hamid Karzai who's come out and said, this is not war against terror. It's an inhuman war, and using Afghanistan as testing grounds for weapons of mass destruction. So there is a flip side to it, because so far the number of casualties, if at all there are civilian casualties as well, which is not to be ascertained so far.
Well, it's going to be extremely difficult. A bomb of 21,000 pounds, it's not going to be easy for the United Nations or any force on ground, for that matter, to ensure the exact number of casualty. And also there is no doubt that there would be civilian casualty as well, because when you drop a bomb of this magnitude, certainly it's going to have a lot of impact, not only on this particular epicenter of this bomb, which has been the target area which it was locked on and it was dropped. it's going to certainly capture a lot of area of large diameter around that epicenter. That certainly must have cost a lot of civilian lives. But let's wait and see what is the exact number that the UN forces would be telling out from ground. What is going to be the claim from the United States side? But going by Hamid Karzai's statement, having known his country much more than all these international forces, if he's saying that it's going to be a lot of civilian life as well, certainly happen. Meghna?
It is a possibility. Let's not forget, at the time of the strike, U.S. strike on Syria's airfield as well, there were similar concerns which were raised. In fact, Ashish, do stay on with us. Let's get our viewers some of the other reactions also which are coming in.
I think that there will be enormous questions about the operational reasons for U.S. military commanders saying to the President of the United States, we've got this weapon, this is an opportunity to use it. It's never been used in combat before. It was tested back in 2003. We believe that the Defense Department has about 15 of these bombs in its arsenal. I suppose 14 now, since they appear to have used one of them within the last few hours in eastern Afghanistan. It may well have been that military commanders genuinely felt there was an operational reason for using this massive ordnance air burst explosive device. It delivers 21,000 pounds of explosives. That's 20 times the explosive capacity of each of the Tomahawk missiles that was used by the United States in Syria just a week ago. It has an explosive yield equivalent to 11 tons of TNT. The only place you can go when you go above this device in the US military arsenal is authorizing a nuclear strike. So it will not have been lost on President Trump, the gravity of the decision to deploy this weapon, but it will also not have been lost on President Trump the opportunity the deployment of this weapon presents. It allows him to demonstrate to the world that he's taking the battle against Islamic extremism very, very seriously, is determined to eradicate Islamic State as a threat to the United States and to its interests around the world. And it also allows him, once again, very effectively to change the subject here in Washington, D.C. You're not going to be hearing anybody here today talking about alleged collusion between President Trump's presidential campaign and the Russians back in 2016. This is now going to be the dominant issue that's being discussed here in the United States.
Via this attack, very clear messages being sent by Trump administration that A, there will be no compromise as far as ISI is concerned. Secondly, they also signaling to China and to North Korea that this administration of Trump would stand no nonsense from North Korea either. An equal message is being sent to Pakistan to get after the Haqqani group.
They have been fighting with Al-Qaeda, Taliban, and now ISIS, but all of them are there, for the last so many years, They are still there. They have not been able to defeat. So this bombing, I'm sure, will not help solve the problem.
Well, several reactions have already started coming in. Of course, those from India have been lauding it, especially we got your Subramanian Swamy's reaction. Several of the defense experts also have been coming out and saying that this is the way forward to dealing with Islamic terror, and perhaps India should take a leaf out of US's book and take very strong, stern actions to protect its own security and integrity. Well, Ashish, we should look at it, shouldn't we, with the larger context of the surgical strikes which were carried out by India against Pakistan as well, and now considering this one, strategically speaking, is very close to the Afghan border itself, very close to Pakistan and the area which has been fermenting terror.
Yes, the location of dropping this bomb was close to Afghanistan-Pakistan border. It's an extremely strong bomb, and the sound must have gone at least to the terror launch pads in Pakistan. This one step, if you see at the international diplomatic level, will certainly help India, because if US, on the name of eradicating terrorists of ISIS from Afghanistan is concerned, it can go to the extent of doing something which the world has never seen before, at least from the military point of view.
Absolutely.
It gives a lot more mileage for India as well to do at least, if not of this magnitude, at least of a slightly smaller magnitude, to go ahead and do same purpose. The purpose with which US went ahead and dropped mother of all bomb, GBU-43 of 21,000 pounds. At least India will have the authority, and with the international relations we have built in recent times, can at least use half of the power against terror launch pads against Pakistan,
right,
with the same reason that US gave while dropping this bomb, to eliminate terror.
And more importantly, this is a message which has been sent across to terror havens across the world, including to Pakistan, which finds itself increasingly isolated. Well,